Hey guys, welcome back to another wild story that's going to make you question reality. Today I've got a crazy one for you. Imagine coming back from a long trip, exhausted and just wanting to crash on your bed, only to find your own garage taken over by two massive trucks that aren't even yours. Yeah, you heard that right, and it only gets worse from there. Now, before we dive into this insane mess, let me set the scene for you. I've been living in this quiet little suburban neighborhood for about 3 years now. It's the kind of place where people wave at each other while mowing the lawn, kids ride their bikes down the sidewalk, and generally everyone minds their own business. Or at least, that's what I thought. Honestly, life here's been pretty peaceful, except for one thing, the HOA. Yeah, the good old homeowners association. If you're lucky enough not to know what that is, it's basically a bunch of neighborhood busybodies who think they own the place, setting rules about what color your mailbox should be and how often you should trim your lawn. Fun times, right? Now, when I first moved in, they tried to recruit me with one of those fancy pamphlets, complete with stock photos of happy families and spotless yards. I wasn't buying it. I like living my life without a bunch of power-hungry folks telling me what to do, so I just ignored it. A few weeks later, one of their representatives showed up at my door. Nice enough guy at first, tried to sell me on all the benefits of joining the HOA. I politely declined. I could tell he wasn't too thrilled about it, but he eventually left. I thought that was the end of it, but boy, was I wrong. The HOA wasn't about to give up that easily. Over the next 2 years, they harassed me nonstop. Letters stuck to my door, warnings about my grass being too long, threats of legal action if I didn't join and follow their precious rules. It was honestly ridiculous. And then there's Karen. Oh yeah, you knew there'd be a Karen in this story, right? She's the HOA queen bee, practically runs the whole thing. I never really had a run-in with her personally. Just heard stories from neighbors about how she'd fine people for the tiniest stuff, like leaving their trash cans out for too long. So, that's the setup. Peaceful neighborhood? Check. Overbearing HOA? Check. Karen from hell? Double check. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for what happened when I came back from that trip and saw those trucks sitting in my garage. Stick around, because this story's about to get a whole lot crazier. All right, buckle up, guys, because things are about to get real messy. So like I said, I just got back from a week-long trip visiting family out of state. It was one of those brutal travel days, long flights, delays, cramped seats. You know the deal. All I wanted to do was drag my luggage inside, collapse on the couch, and pretend the world didn't exist for a few hours. But no, fate had other plans. As I pulled up to my driveway, I couldn't believe my eyes. Two massive trucks were just sitting there, in my garage. I'm talking lifted, oversized, gas-guzzling beasts that looked like they belonged in some off-road rally, not tucked neatly into my little suburban garage. For a second, I thought maybe I was at the wrong house. But then reality hit me like a brick. This was my house, and someone had the audacity to park their junk in my garage. My brain just couldn't process it. I mean, who does that? Then I saw her, standing on the sidewalk, arms crossed, chin held high, like she was admiring a masterpiece. It was Karen. Yup, the infamous HOA tyrant herself. She looked way too pleased with herself, and that just sent my blood boiling. I stormed over, trying to keep my cool, and asked, "Karen, why are there two trucks in my garage?" She didn't even flinch, didn't act guilty at all, just raised an eyebrow and said, "Oh, those are mine. You left your garage door open." Excuse me? My garage door being open does not mean it's a public parking lot? I shot back. That doesn't give you the right to park your trucks in my space. She actually had the nerve to scoff at me, like I was the unreasonable one here. "Your open garage was an invitation," she snapped. "It's in the HOA rules. Open garages are considered community parking. You should know that." Yeah, no, I wasn't buying it. I folded my arms and glared at her. "I've never joined the HOA, Karen. Those rules don't apply to me." Her eyes narrowed, and that smirk of hers just got nastier. "The HOA controls the entire neighborhood, including your house. You can't just ignore the rules. I couldn't believe it. Was she really that delusional? I pointed out that it was my property and she had no right to invade it, but she wouldn't back down. She even threatened to sue me for causing trouble if I didn't let her keep the trucks there. At that point, I was just done. I'd driven straight from the airport, running on nothing but caffeine and frustration, and the last thing I needed was a power-tripping HOA Karen acting like she owned my life. I took a deep breath, told myself not to lose it, and just parked my car on the curb. I needed to cool off before I did something stupid, so I went inside and tried to gather my thoughts. But the more I thought about it, the madder I got. Who does that? Who thinks they can just take over someone's garage like it's their personal parking lot? I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what. Then it hit me. Call the police. This was my property. Karen had no right to just waltz in and take over. I wasn't about to let her walk all over me. The next morning, as soon as I was somewhat rested, I made the call. I wasn't playing nice anymore. And just as I hung up the phone, I saw Karen peeking through her blinds, like she knew something was up. Oh, it was on now. Stay tuned, because the showdown was just getting started, and Karen was about to learn that I don't back down. All right, things were about to get real interesting. The next morning, right on cue, the police arrived. I greeted them outside, tried to keep it cool, but honestly, my nerves were shot. I was tired, frustrated, and just done with Karen's nonsense. I explained the whole situation, how I'd come back from my trip to find two massive trucks sitting in my garage, trucks that didn't even belong to me. And just as I was finishing up, guess who showed up? Like a hawk circling its prey? Yep, Karen. She strutted over, acting like she was the one being wronged here. One of the officers glanced over at her and asked, "Ma'am, are these your vehicles in the garage?" Karen folded her arms and shot me a look like I was the villain in her little story. "Yes, they're mine," she huffed, "and I have every right to park them there." His garage was open, and according to HOA regulations, that makes it community parking. The officer raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. Community parking? In someone's private garage? Karen's face twisted into that smug little grin she always wore. The HOA rules clearly state that open garages are considered communal property. I'm on the HOA board, so I know the regulations. That's when I stepped in. Actually, officer, I've never joined the HOA. I'm not a member, and I never signed any agreement. Those rules don't apply to my property. Karen's face turned red, like I'd just slapped her with a lawsuit. She shot back, "It doesn't matter. The HOA covers the entire neighborhood, no exceptions." But I wasn't about to let her get away with that. I pulled out my phone and showed the officers all the evidence I'd collected over the years. Photos of their harassing notes, letters threatening legal action, and documentation proving I never signed any HOA agreement. The officers exchanged glances, talking quietly among themselves. Karen stood there with this weird little smirk, like she thought she was still winning. I could tell she expected the cops to just side with her and put me in my place. After a few tense moments, one of the officers came back over to me. "Sir, we understand your frustration, but this is technically a civil matter. We can't force her to move the trucks. You may need to pursue this through small claims court." I was furious, but I knew they were right. Karen, on the other hand, was practically glowing with satisfaction. She leaned in with that condescending smile and muttered, "Told you, you're just making a scene for nothing." I bit my tongue so hard I thought I might actually start bleeding. This woman, I just couldn't take it. But then an idea popped into my head, one that was just crazy enough to work. Later that day, I knocked on Karen's door and put on my best "I give up" face. I told her that, after thinking it over, I decided to let her park the trucks in my garage. No more fuss. Her face lit up with that smug triumph, and she even had the nerve to pat me on the shoulder, saying, "Glad you finally came to your senses." But little did she know, she had just walked right into my trap. That night, I called up one of my buddies for help. We drove over to my place, and together we parked both of our cars right in front of the garage, completely blocking her trucks in. I made sure to leave just enough space so that it wasn't illegal, but there was no way those trucks were going anywhere. I went to bed that night with the biggest grin on my face, just waiting for the fireworks to start. And believe me, the next morning did not disappoint. Stay tuned, because Karen's meltdown was one for the record books. The next morning, oh man, it was glorious. I barely got out of bed when I heard it, the loud, rapid banging on my front door. I knew exactly who it was, and I couldn't help but smirk. I swung open the door, and there she was, Karen, red-faced, practically foaming at the mouth. "You move those cars right now," she shrieked, pointing dramatically at my driveway. "I need to get my trucks out." I played it cool, real casual. "Oh, sorry, Karen, but I can't park on the curb today. Street cleaning, you know. My cars are staying right where they are." She was livid, ranting about how I was being unreasonable and how I was abusing my parking privileges. I just let her go on until she finally ran out of steam. Then I dropped the bomb. "Tell you what, I'll move the cars if you show me that HOA clause you keep talking about, and you give me a signed apology for all the harassment you and the HOA put me through." You'd think I just slapped her with a lawsuit. She stammered, sputtered, tried to bribe me with discounted HOA memberships, and even straight up cash. Nope, not happening. Eventually, Karen just stormed off, but the damage was done. Word got around the neighborhood fast, and suddenly people started sharing their own HOA horror stories. Turns out, Karen had been tormenting the entire block for years. It didn't take long for the HOA to catch wind of the brewing rebellion. Next thing I know, they sent out a formal apology to everyone and kicked Karen off the board. Can't say I felt too bad about it. Karma's a real thing, right? Oh, and don't worry, I've upgraded my garage door with a smart system now. No more uninvited truck parties in there. Lesson learned. So, what do you guys think? Did I go too far with my little revenge? Or was it just what Karen deserved? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if you like this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more crazy tales, and click the bell so you don't miss a single update. Catch you in the next one. Stay smart, stay safe, and watch out for those Karens.